To begin with the simulation, a schedule was created to show a possible demand based on an arrival rate per hour. The lab will be functioning on a 24/7 basis. The lab is constituted of 5 main areas: the load-unload area and 5 cells where each of the specific tests take place. 7% of all the samples that arrive to the lab are considered rush samples. Since these samples have a priority, they must enter the conveyor first. There are 9 different types of samples, and each one follows a different sequence. On the first assigned module, we differentiate the 9 types of samples with a test index. In this same module, each of the specific sequences is assigned. The second assigned module has the same functions than the first assigned module, but this one helps us give a priority to the rush samples. These samples will access the load station first so they can enter the conveyor earlier. After the initial process, the samples go into a manual preparation. Once that the manual preparation is performed, the samples go into the load-unload station. In this station, there is a sys module that helps us to assign a resource to each sample. These resources are the sample holders, and they must be sysled first in order for the samples to get into the conveyor. Then, the samples enter the decide load station. This station is in combination with an assign and the cc+1 capacity conveyor variable will add a unit every time that a sample holder accesses the conveyor. By doing this, we make ourselves sure that the capacity of 48 sample holders inside the conveyor will not be exceeded. If the number of sample holders inside the conveyor is equal to 48 units, the test will go into the hold 1 module where they will be waiting until a space inside the conveyor is released. The model processes this situation using the condition cc less than 48 that is included at the signal 1 module. In order to simulate the sample holders accessing the conveyor, we used the module named lead to conveyor. On the video, we will only analyze the test cell number 1. The process begins at the enter module. Then it goes into a decide module that allows us to simulate the buffer spaces of this cell. To do this, it uses a variable denominated BSC1. Those letters stand for buffer spaces at cell 1. Each test cell can only accept a maximum queue of 3 samples. The samples that are already in the test cell are not taken into consideration for this queue. The number of resources and processing times of each test cell are unique and independent from each other. Since the capacity of the conveyor must be regulated at all times, the same combination of assign, hold, and signal modules, along with the cc-1 or +1, are used every time that a sample holder accesses the conveyor. Finally, once that the samples have completed their corresponding sequence, they return to the load-unload station where they release the sample holder that they seized at the beginning of the process. Once that the samples are no longer inside the sample holders, the process time is recorded to know how long did it take for each of the samples to complete the process.